We're moving slowly, step by step, but we have a date for Mackenzie Mgbako's announcement. Plus, IU women's basketball announces a pretty big change, some more transfer portal speculation, and the Big Ten tournament is set for softball today, where the Hoosiers enter as one of the favorites.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Hoosiers. You're Locked On Hoosiers, the only daily IU podcast. We are part of the Locked On Network, your team every day. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, including over at YouTube. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. I'm your host, as always, Jacob. We've went about this process slow and steady, but we now have a date for when the Hoosiers will find out whether Mackenzie Mgbako will be wearing candy stripes next season. It will come on Friday, step by step. We've come along in this process. It was the announcement of when his announcement would come was on Friday, and that's it. That's all we have on this. If you guys want more information on him, we've spent much of the last week talking about him. There is plenty to dive into there. There was no other new update other than we have a time set. Well, excuse me. We have a date set. We don't have a time set. Will it be 7 a.m.? Will it be 7 p.m.? Who knows? What I can tell you is two things. One, be sure to follow Locked On Hoosiers on Twitter because we will keep you updated. We'll be scrolling. We'll be checking out when he does make that decision. But two, if you guys want us to do a live show on Friday, maybe delay the podcast a little bit and try to do a live show, let us know in the YouTube comments or on Twitter, wherever it may be, to kind of have a conversation about what happens next for the Hoosiers, regardless of if they get Mgbako or not. It would mean we delay the show a little bit, but if that's something you guys want, we can dive into that. So it's coming. It'll be on Friday. We'll have some clarity on that moving into next week. Now, there's still scholarship spots open, and there is a very interesting transfer that entered the portal for the Hoosiers, or not for the Hoosiers. He has ties to the Hoosiers. We'll talk about that in a moment. I want to spend a whole segment on that. Before we do that, the women's basketball team had a pretty big announcement on Wednesday. There will now be reserved season tickets for next season. Those of you that attended games last year or anytime know that it was just straight general admission, first come, first serve for women's basketball last season. IU was a little bit behind the curve in that regard when it came to ticketing, and IU women's basketball wasn't a big thing that they needed to worry about ticketing for. So when it blew up this season, it made for a bit of a mess at times, but in good ways. There was a lot of people that were there for games, and it was a rush to get to the best seat. For those of you that might not want to be in that rush and wait in those lines and do all those types of things, there are season tickets with reserved seats available next season. It'll be on the east side, the bottom rows, I believe 25 rows on that entire east side are all going to be reserved seating for next season. They've announced the prices. It's all over on the website, but this was an expected change. It's kind of in line with how, I don't mean to sound condescending, but it's kind of in line with how the better programs do it, how normal programs do it. There's still plenty of general admission. If you don't want to buy that ticket, the whole other side of the arena is still general admission. You can still stand in line and rush in to get to that front row seat, but this allows kind of the best of both worlds. Another thing of note that they kind of snuck in here, you're going to have to pay for parking now. That was another thing. Again, IU really just kind of milked this a little bit and not a ton of effort put into this. There was no paying for parking. It was general admission. It was a $10 ticket. I hope you guys went to a number of games last season because I think it's going to be changing moving forward. I did go to a number of games. It was awesome. You could pull right up. You could park right by the stadium for free. You could walk right in, find the closest seat for however many people you had, and boom, you're watching a top 5 team play basketball. Again, I hope you took advantage of that luxury because it was a luxury. It'll slowly be going away, which is a good thing. This is going away because there's more support. Keep supporting the Hoosiers. This is, I mean, ultimately the pricing doesn't really change other than you get a reserved seat now. Might be a little bit more expensive now, but this is a good change to make because it means the tickets are in demand. It means that there are a lot of fans there, and continue showing that support. That's the biggest thing. And also the student section is going to be grouped together in one spot in the South bleachers now. They were kind of spread out a little bit, and you would kind of put them in the South bleachers. They would kind of congregate there. That's where they're going to be now. So things should be make a lot more sense with how the seating works next season. But if you want to buy season tickets, you can head on over to the website. It feels like a big deal because it feels like we're kind of a real program now, and that's a good thing. I hope Assembly Hall continues to be packed out. It's still going to be a really good team. It's going to be a lot of fun to cheer them on next season. Let's look at the transfer portal. Another name that we can speculate a bit on. We've done this a couple of times. Each time it's been pretty close to right. The IU has at least reached out to these people. We'll see if I can go 3 for 3 with a new name that entered the portal. Before we do that, you guys know how much we love Built Bar around here, not just because they're healthy and they taste amazing, not just because they have so many amazing flavors, not just because they're covered in 100% real chocolate, but now because they are much easier to get. You can head to built.com. You can get all of the amazing flavors you guys have been accustomed to. But if you'd rather not wait weeks for shipping, you can head to Walmart. You can head to Sam's Club. You can pick them up in person today. 4-bar box at Walmart, 13-bar box at Sam's Club. You guys know the deal. We talk about them all the time. I won't continue to bore you with the details other than to say they are the real deal. They are very good. There is no catch. Be sure to head to Walmart, head to Sam's Club, head to built.com, whatever it may be. Try some today and thank me later. Big shout out to you guys for making us your first listen every single day. Everydayers, tomorrow on the show, we're going to have a recap of the Big Ten softball tournament. We're going to preview that in the final segment today, but we'll recap that game. We'll get you caught up on whatever new transfer news there may be. I don't think there's anything Mackenzie Mgbako related that we can do in that one, but we will see. We also may hold that show for a live show. We'll see what you guys think, whether you want to do a live reaction pod. Those are always fun in the moment. And this is going to be the biggest news probably until the seasons start again. So we'll cover all that in the upcoming episode. Let's talk transfer portal speculation, not really rumors or news or anything. Officially, IU hasn't reached out, but Tennessee freshman forward Julian Phillips entered the transfer portal as well as exploring the NBA draft. He had already entered the NBA draft. That deadline, I'm pretty sure, had come and gone anyway, but he's already in the NBA draft. Like, he had declared for it, but he entered the transfer portal with it as well. The connection here is that way back when Mike Woodson and his staff started, Phillips was one of the very first people that they offered. So there is a connection there. Last season at Tennessee, Phillips, he's listed at 6'8", 198 pounds. Had a decent season. Maybe that's statistically an eye-popping one. But as a freshman, he played in 32 games for a Tennessee team that was really good. They went to the Elite Eight before losing to FAU. He was invited to the draft combine. We talked about that in Wednesday's show as it pertains to Jalen Hood-Schifino, Trace Jackson Davis. If you guys weren't already planning on watching for those guys, you can watch for Julian Phillips as well. He has until May 31st to make his decision. If you guys remember last year, waiting on Trace Jackson Davis as it comes, there's a bit of time between the draft combine and the deadline to make the decision, so that players could potentially go to teams for a couple of workouts and get as much feedback as they kind of realistically possibly can before they have to make a decision whether to stay in the draft or return. The scouting report coming out of high school for Phillips was from Jerry Myers over at 247 Sports. He's long, lanky, and athletic, has NBA athletic pop to him, has a good feel for the game and a knack for coming up with the basketball. Outside shot is developing and expected to be reliable from beyond the arc. We'll talk about that in a second. It wasn't. Good with the ball in the open court. Straight line driver who can deliver a pass on the move. Very effective going to his left, which is his weak hand, and effective finishing with his left. High potential prospect who needs to gain weight and strength. As we said, 6'8", 198 pounds. I would agree with that. Having not seen him play a whole lot last season, you need to put on some weight. But who am I to talk about weight? If we look at his stats last season, he averaged 8.3 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.4 assists. Not eye-popping, and especially when you look at his shooting percentages, because he struggled, especially from range, to shoot the ball. 41.1% from the field, 23.9% from the three-point line on just 1.4 attempts per game. 11 of 46 from the three-point line last year. In terms of his finishing, it was decent, 55.7% field goal percentage at the rim. Almost half of his shots came at the rim. So he might be a forward who plays on the perimeter, but it was a lot of line drives. 47.3% of his shots at the rim and 24.2% of his shots as three-pointers, which means 28.5% considered two-point jumpers. So a healthy diet of shots at the rim. For reference, compared to Hoosiers, just to give you a frame of mind of the type of shots he was getting, Jalen Hood-Schifino last year, 19% of his shots came at the rim. The 48% number is akin to like a Race Thompson. He was at 46%. And 21% of his shots were at the three-point line. So, like, in terms of where he shoots the ball, that's closer to what we're looking like, a power forward type. But there are things to like there. He is someone that has a lot of potential. So, word we've used a lot with kind of Hoosiers and transfer targets and things like that. If you look at Evan Mia, the advanced stats site that we use, he graded out there as Tennessee's top defender by a long shot. Now, we've said a number of times, I don't really trust their individual defensive numbers, but I mean, it jumps off the page how highly he rated on that end. He has to be decent. You can't get that high of a number and it be wildly wrong. And Tennessee was really good defensively last year. And if he's starting in 25 of the 32 games he played in, he had to be really good defensively. His position was a 3.7, so small forward to power forward, which is what IU needs, somebody to play on the perimeter. His role was a 3.4, so less of a creator, more of a finisher or receiver. which checks out. You can look at his assist numbers, 1.4 assists, and assist percentage of 11.4%. So he creates for himself, and that is largely it. There wasn't a lot else he did there. He has a long way to go shooting the ball. He seems like a backup plan to Mackenzie Mgbako. Theoretically, they could get both. I don't know that Phillips would come into a situation where he wouldn't be a starter. That doesn't make sense. So I doubt they get both, but it seems more like a backup plan for if the Hoosiers miss out on Mgbako. It's not a bad backup plan. You have to put a lot of faith in them fixing his jumper because it is some ways away from being reliable based on last season. But he fits the profile of an athletic wing that can get to the rim and create for himself. And the Hoosiers, we've talked a lot. That's what they like. That's what they're looking for. That's what they want to do offensively. So that part makes sense. It's just I have some concerns about his complete inability to shoot the ball. We've seen them turn around like Trey Galloway's jumper, for example. If they can do that with Phillips, although they'd have him for a much shorter time, hey, you turn him into a 35, 36% three-point shooter, even if it's low volume, then you're really cooking with gas if he's someone that can get to the rim, because then guys close out harder, a little less under control on him. He gets by them and starts creating advantages there. So if you have a lot of faith in IU's coaching staff, then this is a potential fun project type of player. I don't know how I also feel about him along with Khalil Ware, because then it seems like you're getting an IU team that high ceiling, low floor, maybe. He can defend, so I'm certain they would love that. That's the other. Ware can defend. He can defend. Xavier Johnson can defend. Trey Galloway can. You get that, you're going to get a team that can defend really well, but they also might play Archie ball on the offensive end, and just saying those words makes me shiver and cringe. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see what happens there. Like I said, we probably won't know, or we probably won't get him and Mgbako, but we'll know about Mgbako very soon. So keep an eye on that one. We'll see if the Hoosiers reach out to him. Big Ten tournament starts today, but more importantly, IU had a player named Player of the Year in the Big Ten. We'll talk about who it was and get you set for the Big Ten tournament. We'll do all that here in just a moment. So the Big Ten tournament starts today, at least for the Hoosiers. It actually started on Wednesday. It starts today for the Hoosiers. But in line with that, the Big Ten announced its awards on Wednesday, and an Indiana player was Player of the Year. Taryn Kern, who we've mentioned a couple times as the Player of the Year and the Freshman of the Year. In the conference, she was Freshman of the Year unanimously. If you're Player of the Year, you better be Freshman of the Year unanimously. IU finished second in the Big Ten. Kern's the fifth student athlete to win both Player of the Year and Freshman of the Year. She's the first Hoosier to win Big Ten Player of the Year since Michelle Venturella in 1994. So, obviously IU doesn't have a storied history with softball here, but Kern's incredible. She led the Big Ten in 9 major main offensive categories: home runs with 22, RBIs with 67, runs scored 65, total bases 140, walks 41. She's been hit by pitch 20 times, bumped and bruises all over the place, a 605 on base percentage, a 1.022 slugging percentage, which means a 1.627 OPS. She's third in batting average and sixth in hits. My word. She leads the nation in home runs with 22. She's too shy of the record for the conference in home runs. She's one shy of the freshman record. She's been a stud this year. We mentioned her a couple times, probably not enough The good news is IU is going to be playing, and based on everything I looked up, in the NCAA tournament, so we'll be able to watch her moving forward. But let's touch on some of the other awards. First team All Big Ten obviously included Kern and Taylor Minnick, sophomore. She's a designated player on the first team. Second team had Cora Bassett, outfielder, Avery Parker, a freshman outfielder, Sarah Stone, a sophomore first baseman. The all freshman team had Cassidy Kettleman and Avery Parker with Kern. So Hoosiers certainly received a ton of recognition. They finished second in the Big Ten, as we kind of discussed. They probably would, though. Minnesota ended the season winning 11 straight games to make that IU only finished second by a game. So it got interesting there, but the Hoosiers finished second in the Big Ten, which brings us to the Big Ten tournament. I can pull up the bracket here while I'm discussing it, but the Hoosiers are going to be playing Penn State on today at 1:30. So if you're listening to this as your first listen, then you get to hear that the Hoosiers are playing at 1:30 right here. They are the 2 seed. It's listed at 1:30. It's going to follow the Ohio State-Minnesota game. It will be on the Big Ten Network, so you guys can watch the Big Ten tournament for softball today on the Big Ten Network. As long as IU's playing, they will be in the Big Ten tournament for the next couple, or on Big Ten Network for the next couple of days. If they win today, they'll play at 5 p.m. on Friday. Championship game is 3 p.m. on Saturday. These two teams did not play in the regular season. I'm not sure entirely why. IU didn't play a couple of teams. I don't know if it was weather related or what. The winner of the Big Ten tournament gets an automatic spot in the NCAA tournament. I did some rough research. I don't know who entirely is reliable when it comes to bracketology, but IU is safely in the tournament. It's similar to the men's baseball in that there are 4 teams that go to a host site and play. I use the 2 seed. Wherever they end up, they're the 2 seed. So they're going to have a shot at this. They're going to get a good crack at this, but they can certainly head into the NCAA tournament with a lot of momentum if they piece together some wins this week going into the weekend. The bracket will be revealed on May 14th, which is Sunday, I believe, at 7 p.m. It is Sunday at 7 on ESPN2. We'll keep you updated as this Big Ten tournament goes for the Hoosiers, but you guys can watch them starting this afternoon. Turn it on, watch it in the background. Softball's a lot of fun to watch, so just have it on in the background and watch some Big Ten softball throughout the day. Big thanks to you guys, as always. You made us your first listen, your first watch. We appreciate you everydayers out there. And to you everydayers, as I said, we'll be back. Let us know if you want a live show on Friday. Otherwise, we'll be back to talk Big Ten tournament and any other transfer news we get to wrap up this week. Follow us on Twitter at LO_Hoosiers. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a rating and review. All of that great stuff. Most importantly, though, guys, hope everybody has a great Thursday. Let's go, Hoosiers. Let's win a Big Ten tournament. Hopefully they aren't all cursed for Indiana. But as always, guys, LEO.